have any other recommendations to the rec board?
I'd like to nominate George Gow.
George Gow, we have a second on
I
George Gow?
second George Gow.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. When you get a chance, Stella. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Gale?
Yes.
9 yes.
Any other appointments? We have one more left. No? Okay. I think we have enough for quorum. Okay, we're gonna move on to presentations. Let's do, we're gonna start off with the presentation of the Mayor's Certificates of Excellence to the Robin Special Olympics Speed Skating Team. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. It's always a pleasure and an honor to stand here and present certificates for the recognition and accomplishments for our Camp Robin program here in town. Tonight, we're going to acknowledge and give out certificates in reference to our speed skating team that participated the past few months, and the achievements you will hear momentarily are just outstanding. So I'm going to ask head coach Rick Antonazio to please step forward, please. Tell us a little bit about the program, the competition, so the people at home really appreciate what Camp Robin does for our special needs here, for our children here in Old Bridge and our surrounding communities. Head coach, please tell us a little bit about what happened and why are we here tonight?
We have about 17 skaters, which is an increase from what our program was last year. And we practice every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, regardless of the weather. So when it's 5 degrees out and you're snuggled at home in bed, these guys are all out on the ice doing their thing. And it's been a tremendous year, much success. And once again, our township has been recognized by New Jersey Special Olympics. They want to role model the whole speed skating process after what we do. So much so that during opening ceremonies, they even had one of our skaters, Myvi, kick off the entire Winter Games.
Wow.
So that's quite an
That's
accomplishment.
great.
Bridge program is well respected and well known throughout New Jersey Special Olympics. So it's something that our township should be extremely proud of. I'd like to thank the council, certainly the mayor, very supportive of everything that we do, and certainly we couldn't do it without Barbara Anderson and Pete Pirro. So,
I'll start off with the first certificate. Head coach, Old Bridge Robin, Area 5, Special Olympic Speed Skating Team. In recognition of your success at the New Jersey Special Olympics Skyland Arena, Stockholm, New Jersey, February 2nd, 2016. Head coach, thank you so much
Thank
for all
you.
you do. Certificates?
Other thing that we're very fortunate on is that I have a lot of wonderful assistant coaches that help out, and we also have quite a few volunteers that help out. So I personally want to thank both of them, and I even want to thank the volunteers' parents, because obviously they got to get these kids over to the rink in the very early hours on Saturday morning. So it just speaks volumes for the support that we get from all parties concerned. So first recognition is for Mike Senatiempo, one of the coaches. Mike. Second assistant coach, someone near and dear to my heart. He's not here, he's in class. I told him for what I'm paying for college, he needs to be at class. My son, Dan Antonazzi. Another one in the family, we keep it all around. And she's away in college, but she's been down a couple of times to help us out, and that's my daughter, Jennifer.
Great job.
We want to recognize our head instructor, Tony DiAugusto. Moving on to a couple of the chaperones, Claudia Puccio. Thank you. Yvette Griffin? Melissa Schultz, even though she's not here, Melissa. Sadie Ritchie? She's not here. Rochelle Zelloff? She's not here, though. Let's give her a round. Richard Grant? He's also not here right now. Mike Senatiempo Jr.? We have a bunch of the volunteers are all off the hockey team, so that's what helps us get the kids programmed and learning how to skate even better. Here's a couple of guys from the hockey team. Casey Cavison, not here, not here. Brandon Pelly. Bryce Prococo. Have a game? Okay. I have to tell them they gotta come here next time. Mitch Schaefer. We have a couple of brothers that helped us out. John Rosalie. Thanks, Rosalie. Okay, and now we're
we got
gonna
our athletes.
recognize the athletes. First one up is Myvi Nguyen.
Athlete 300 meters, second place. 500 meters, first place.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Bobby V.
Bobby.
25 meters, first place. 100 meter, first place.
Jimmy Smith.
300 meters, third place. 500 meters, second place. Great job.
Tommy Antonazzi.
Meters, first place. 500 meters, first place.
Wow.
Woo!
Pam Giles.
Pam has her medals. 100 meters, first place. 300 meters, second place.
Good job.
The next two athletes up are new to the program. They come from the Freehold area, but they joined our program. First one up, Christine Ritchie.
Team 300 meters, first place. 500 meters, second place.
Nice.
Next one up, Matt Bonetti.
Matthew, 300 meters, second place. 500 meters, fourth place. Congratulations, Matthew.
See you next year. Next year. October, start now. Stephanie Puccio.
100 meters, fourth place. 500 meters, third place. Great job, Stephanie.
Matt Arvello.
Matt, 25 meters, second place. 100 meters, second place. Great job.
Good job.
Connor Griffin.
500 meters, third place.
Chris McMullen.
Medals, 300 meters, first place. 500 meters, first place.
Joey Pilcher.
Third place, 500 meters, second place. Congratulations.
Robbie Lou.
Bobby, 300 meters, first place. 500 meters, first place.
Wow, good job.
Paul, you might as well come on up. Paul
All
Pantano.
right, Paul. Paul, 300 meters, first place. 500 meters, first place.
Mark Phillips.
Mark,
And
300 meters.
Listen up.
Third place. 500 meters, second place. Great job.
We have two other athletes, Louis Carbone and Nicholas Grant. They're not with us tonight, but let's give them a round of applause.
For accomplishments, Lewis, 100 meters, second place. 300 meters, first place. Nicholas, 300 meters, third place. 500 meters, first place. Council, as you can see, we're very proud of our Camp Robin program, extremely proud of our athletes. Just the numbers, as you see, and the amount of work that goes into running this program. You saw the amount of coaches, volunteers, and the chaperones are equal to the amount of people participating in this program. So you have to realize what is really involved in running this and running it well, and really makes you feel good to live in Old Bridge tonight.
Does.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Terrific job, guys. Really, really great. It's such a pleasure when we do this every single year. It's so great to see the awards and all the accomplishments. What we're going to do is we're going to take a 5-minute break so the athletes, the parents, and the coaches can leave if they want, and then we'll resume the council meeting. So thank you, guys. Why don't we get started with the meeting again? Okay, the next item on the agenda is a presentation of a plaque by the mayor to the Senior Center staff commemorating the award of national accreditation to the George Bush Senior Center. Mr. Mayor. It's a big plaque.
God bless you.
Joining me is Councilwoman Walker, Councilwoman Sohar. Tonight we're going to present a plaque to our Senior Center staff in recognition of their accomplishment for achieving accreditation. I'm going to ask Diane Amabile to please come forward to the mic, explain the process that we went through, then we will bring her staff up and present the plaque. It's a beautiful plaque. And just to tell everybody in Old Bridge that we're so proud of our Senior Center and the accomplishments that they've made for our seniors and improved the quality of life, extended their lives. and run a great program, and it deserves to be accredited. So I'm going to have Diane talk about the process that we went through. We made a decision to go for it. We went for it, and we got it. I believe we're only the 5th senior center in the state and the 1st in Middlesex County. So it is quite an accomplishment. So Diane, please explain to the public and the council, what you did, how you did it, and all the help you got from everybody, and what it means.
First of all, it's something that me and my staff worked on for over a year. It was a year-long process. There was a lot of learning involved for us to make sure that we were doing everything that needed to be done for our seniors the right way. We made a tremendous amount of changes in some of our programming, some of our evaluations, a variety of surveys that went out to the public. People that just didn't even know there was a senior center in Old Bridge. We had to meet certain standards. There were 9 standards from the NCOA that we had to meet, and we met all of them. It was a little bit difficult as a municipality because there are certain standards that we had to kind of build together because we're governed by certain ordinances and different policies. So we were able to do that. We had an on-site visit by a peer reviewer in October. She came out to view some of our programming and some of the different things that we did. She was there for 2 days. She spent 2 days with us. It was a little overwhelming, but it was good. And subsequently on December 3rd, the board met and they unanimously voted that we would be an accredited senior center in the state of New Jersey, actually in the United States. National accreditation opens up for us different funding opportunities for specific grants that we can apply for. We can certainly use our accreditation logo that we received. And it's a very high honor for us in Old Bridge. So we're going to get ready to write some grants.
Great job, Diane. Thank you.
Staff, Anna, my right-hand person, she was so tremendous. She did all the research for the accreditation. And Nancy, my program coordinator, Terry, Nick, and Iris, my drivers. Everybody, it was a joint effort. And of course, we couldn't have done it without the support of the administration and the council. So I thank you as well.
And now we will present the plaque.
Wow.
I'll try to read it. Okay, here we go. The Old Bridge Township George Bush Senior Center was awarded accreditation by the National Institute of Senior Centers on December 3rd, 2015, in recognition of meeting and exceeding national standards and demonstrating outstanding leadership and commitment to the quality programs and services to our senior community. The George Bush Senior Center became only the 5th New Jersey Senior Center and the 1st Middlesex County Senior Center to receive this prestigious accreditation. And we have on it Mayor Owen Henry, Township Council members, Debbie Walker, President, Mary Sohar, Vice President, Dr. James Anderson, Brian Cahill, Joe Mollis, Reggie Butler, Richard Green, Lucille Panos, and Alan Rosenkrantz. Diane Amenabile, Senior Center Manager, presented February 22nd, 2016. Quite an accomplishment, Council. Good job.
If I could ask also, if you guys could stay, I'd like to recognize Senator Sam Thompson, who actually has a proclamation he'd like to read as well. Senator?
Thank you, Senator. Thanks for joining. It's a great opportunity here in Old Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm delighted to join in recognizing what you have accomplished here at the Old Bridge Senior Center. Through the years, I've been there for many, many of the programs and functions you put on. I know the great job that you and the staff do for our seniors here. Day in, day out, you're there, and it does mean so much to them, such valuable services. You know, when you get to that stage of life, having a place like you have there at the Senior Center, the entertainment and the companionship and everything you provide is so valuable. So it is my privilege to recognize the great achievements you have here with a joint resolution from the State Senate and General Assembly of the State of New Jersey, sponsored by myself, Assemblyman Rob Clifton, and Assemblyman Ron Dancer. Whereas the Senate and General Assembly of the State of New Jersey are pleased to note the accreditation celebration for the Old Bridge Senior Center, a highly esteemed institution within the Garden State, which will be held on February 22nd, 2016, at the Old Bridge Municipal Complex Council Chambers. And whereas the national accreditation of the Old Bridge Senior Center represents the culmination of an extensive planning process that was brought to fruition only through the extraordinary labors and efforts of a number of devoted people whose commitment to this goal was evidenced by their service and leadership within the community. And whereas this singular designation is bestowed upon the Old Bridge Senior Center by the National Institute of Senior Citizens, a renowned and respected agency of the National Council on Aging, and the Old Bridge Senior Center has earned further acclaim as the first accredited senior center in Middlesex County. And whereas the Old Bridge Senior Center, which offers an exceptional location, a fully accessible facility, creative arts programs, a variety of health and fitness initiatives, and support programming, functions under the capable and effective stewardship of a visionary staff dedicated to its members and to cultivating collaborative relationships within the community. And whereas within all spheres, the Old Bridge Senior Center has established a model to emulate and set a standard of excellence towards which other organizations might strive. And whereas it is both proper and fitting for the members of the legislature to recognize the accreditation ceremony for the Old Bridge Senior Center and to join affirming its importance place in the Middlesex community, now therefore be it resolved that Senate and General Assembly of the State of New Jersey, that this legislature hereby honors the Old Bridge Senior Center upon the occasion of its accreditation and pays tribute to all those whose labors and efforts have contributed to their praiseworthy endeavor. And be it further resolved, a duly authenticated copy of this resolution, signed by the Senate President and Assembly Speaker, and attested by the Senate Secretary and the Assembly Clerk, be transmitted to the Old Bridge Senior Center, signed Stephen Sweeney, President Senate, Vincent Prieto, Speaker of the Assembly. Again, congratulations. Welcome.
That was a long one.
I just wanted to add one thing to the council. Part of our process, we had to celebrate Senior Center Month, which was held in September. We did a program called Passport to Health. Each senior was given a passport, a fake passport with their picture in it. And every time they participated in a health and wellness program, they got a stamp. So we did this for the entire month. The attendance was phenomenal, because at the end of the month, somebody was getting a prize, and it was just unbelievable. We couldn't even fit people into our exercise programs and into our health screenings and our seminars that we had. We just got word in the 2015 National Council on Aging that we were awarded honorable mention for our program that we did.
Terrific. Okay, terrific. Well, really another accolade for Old Bridge, which is terrific. The next presentation is actually a guest speaker, Mr. George Ragu. He's going to talk about Operation Beachfront. George? I got your name right, didn't I?
Close enough.
All right, thank
Nobody
you.
gets it right.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Operation Beachhead's been in existence about 5 years. What we do is we serve disabled vets, their families, and active duty We start out by providing surfing, kayaking, boogie boarding. By the way, if anyone wants to join us, we have quadriplegic veterans who we get on surfboards, we get them in kayaks and everything. To hook onto this, we tried doing a skating program in another place. It didn't quite work. Tom and I go back more than he and I want to remember, because I used to be, I'm a retired recreation director. But I said to him, I said, we'd like to bring our skating up, and he said, great. He got a hold of the mayor. Mayor said yes. So our first event, we had about 10 people. The last event we had 2 weeks ago, we had about 32 people. These are all either disabled, active duty vets, and I know you're going to get tired of hearing this tonight, but it's another reason why people should acknowledge the administration of Old Bridge. I mean, when I asked the mayor and I asked Tom and his staff about doing it, they said, absolutely. No questions. We have out. We use the rink. We now have some members of the Old Bridge High School hockey team have come over to help us. Our volunteers are anyone from local residents to members of the New York City Fire Department who also play on the hockey team. They were not the ones in the fight a couple weeks ago with the police department. I'm supposed to put that disclaimer. And it's been a great, great ride for us with Old Bridge Township. So I want to thank you. I have a letter here. It was sent to me by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and they wanted me to read it because they couldn't be here tonight. It's addressed to the mayor, but I think you all share in it what it says. Dear Mayor, on behalf of the veterans, patients, and the staff Department of Veteran Affairs, New Jersey Healthcare System, East Orange, please accept our sincere gratitude for help in hosting adaptive ice hockey clinics for the veterans. Through this sports program, our SCID veterans were introduced to adaptive ice hockey. Everyone has a wonderful time in the ice learning how to play and use the equipment. Your kind assistance in this organization of this event is appreciated by all those who attended. We thank you for your continued interest and concern for the veteran patients hospitalized at the medical center and for your ongoing generosity and support. It's signed Lori Tomino, Chief Recreation Therapist, Department of Veteran Affairs, the state of New Jersey. I also want to add in here that we now have, last time we had 4 come down from the Bronx VA hospital.
Wow.
And because they want to start doing it in New York. And we've also talked to people in Pennsylvania and Delaware. And our first thing is use Old Bridge as the example. So again, we want to thank the mayor especially. He actually gets out and skates. It's a hoot to see him out there.
With
in
his suit
skates
on
and a
too,
suit.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everyone knows to stay away from him. He's got that stick in his hand, so I don't know what that means, but.
And funny hats. I
Yes.
see.
So thank you again, and I want to tell you that your impact on the veterans, not only do we have disabled vets, we have quadriplegics, we have some active duty vets, and now it's growing out because, like I said, we've got kids from the high school team are coming. And in fact, one of the coaches that was there with them last had them get in the adaptive sleds. So they were skating around and they got an idea of what it is. So thanks to you, this program is growing. I know you think it's a small thing, but for what you're doing for our veterans, it's amazing. And again, thank you on behalf of Operation Beachhead and also the veterans. I appreciate everything.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
Thank you. Mayor.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't gone to that, I was fortunate to actually go to 2 events, and it's something to see. It really is, and the smiles on the veterans' faces when they get out and they skate, it really is tremendous. And you get to see the mayor skating around in a suit, which is pretty funny. So, but it is really it is funny.
Hats are funnier. The hats are funnier.
But anyway, it really is a great program, so thank you all. Okay, let's go to the bill listing. Mr. Rosencrantz, you have the bill list?
Yes, I do. Bill list, February 22nd, accounts payable, $1,278,519.77.
Have a motion, please.
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos, second by Mr. Green. Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Milas?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Accounts payable, February 18th, payroll, February 18th, $831,225.87.
Have a motion, please.
Move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Panos. Second by Councilman Green. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yeah.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Payroll overtime, February 18th, $93,397.24.
Mr. Marion, if you could do the breakout, please?
Want to take a second first? Or you want to move it?
Yeah, we'll move it first. Okay. Have a motion?
Make a motion, sir.
Thank you. Made by Mr. Mollis, second.
Second.
Mr. Green, second. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. The payroll overtime for the pay period ended February 18, 2016, as stated by Councilman Rosencrantz, $93,397.24 is included in the information in your packets for the meeting. The big chunk of that change, as you can imagine, $54,246.82 is snow removal, payroll overtime associated with snow removal. On the police department for the pay period, date ending 2/18/16 represents 507.50 man and women hours for a total amount of overtime, $36,949.77. And if you take out the grants in the amount of $295.44, you take out ETO, which is contractual $2,808.88 from the sworn officer overtime in the amount of $34,973.73. Total amount of overtime is $31,869.41. I would point out $14,329.44 of that $31,869.41 is again for snow removal. That's tracked differently, police department versus the general snow removal, which is public works or recreation. We still have one patrol officer out on medical. There were a couple investigations for cost drivers this month, and there was also a court suppression hearing involving a 2013 case which did result in overtime.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Marion about the overtime? We have a motion to second, so roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis? Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz? Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Is that it?
That concludes the bill list.
Thank you. Okay, public hearings and second ordinances. Ordinances for second reading. H1, Release Reduction Performance Guarantee, Mobility Special Care Housing Incorporated, AKA Deerwood Homes, LLC, Block 25,000, Lot 35, application number 02-13P, Texas Road, west of Englishtown Road. Do we have the applicant here?
The attorney.
The attorney's here? Great.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Evan Pickus and Landsberg on behalf of the applicant.
Great. I want to go to the public first. Anybody from the public want to be heard in this particular application? No? Close the public portion.
Well, as the application we've submitted indicates, we've completed the work that was requested of us. It's been recommended by the engineers that the bond be completed, and we therefore ask the council to release it.
Okay, great. Council have any questions?
I just have a comment. That's in my ward, and I went by there. It's a nice building. I didn't go inside, but it just, it was an old building there, and you did good. Thank you.
My client does very nice work. Thank you very much.
Just about, is it like 5 homes or 5 residences, or how?
It's one building. It's a
Right,
group
but there's,
home.
right, but how many?
Oh, I
yeah.
believe it's 5.
5, yeah,
I believe
okay.
it's 5.
With the
Right, great.
handicap ramps and.
Yep, no,
nice.
it's really nice. Any other comments, questions? Okay,
I need a motion.
we need a motion, please? I'll move it.
Sir.
And could you second?
Second.
Mr. Kamala seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Cahill?
Yes,
9 yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, moving on to preliminary public comments to council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. During the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the town council on one subject for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion shall first sign a list maintained by the township clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or public hearing is to occur at this meeting.
Mark Rizzoli?
Good evening.
Mark Rizzoli, resident of Ward 4. First, I just want to congratulate all the recipients tonight. I don't think people realize how much effort, how much commitment goes into learning how to power skate. I was involved with skating for a long time. It's a very difficult thing to do. Congratulations to them. I just want to start by saying I recently attended a meeting, which is really, the MUA meeting, which is really took me back, what goes on there. But let's go back in time a little bit. Not too long ago, the MUA was attacked by Councilman Cahill, former Councilman Anderson, on cronyism, patronage. Then when I reviewed the initial meeting this year, I have to say I was really disturbed. We had Councilman Anderson was nominated by Councilman Miles, which was seconded by Councilman Rosencrantz. Then when you look at the list of applicants, James Anderson, who was a dentist, was number 1 on the list. Councilman Green resigns his position, then appoints himself again, which would tell me he would have to go through the whole process again and put his resume in besides doing the leadership form. I think when you want to personally attack a group for individuals of what they did, accusing them of patronage, you need to be doing it cleaner and better than the other guy. Okay, so I would like to know, Art Carullo was on there, was nominated by Councilwoman Panos. What exactly is his qualifications? When I sat at the meeting, he made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Whoa.
Well, that's your opinion.
Right.
You don't disparage people. Councilwoman Panos. No. You don't disparage people in public. That's not part of the Councilwoman
I do my
Panos,
homework.
please. You don't disparage people in public.
Excuse me.
Okay? No. You excuse me.
You are elected
You don't.
the council
No.
president,
Time
not
out.
the council
I'm not going to
dictator.
sit here and let you disparage people in public.
I made my
okay?
observations.
I'm just telling you, it's not
Obviously,
going to
there was
happen. I'll
agenda
cut your
going
time
on.
off. Okay?
Well,
Letting you know right now.
I'm glad you think you're a dictator in this council.
I'm not a dictator.
Furthest thing from
I
the
do
truth.
run the meeting,
Actually,
though.
you were the guy who attacked the MUA.
Go ahead.
I like
And you
listening.
voted
Keep on
for-
going.
You're telling me that the individual who was, I won't even name by name anymore. The individual who was put
Mrs.
there was the
Spanos,
most qualified? Okay. Well, you never sit anyway at a meeting. I'm glad you're leaving. Maybe he was one of the
that's
grab bag of your
enough.
holiday.
Your time's
meeting.
up.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Rick Sarno?
You know who I am, Richard Sarno from Old Bridge.
Yep. No, you're done. You're done. You're done. And one more word, I'm going to have you escorted out. And I can do that, by the way. Enough. Sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't say that. I would never say that to
Just
somebody in
wanted
public.
to know what the situation was, what you discussed about the road closure in back of my building. Also, the ambulance drivers do not have keys, or if they have keys, they're not using them. I was just told tonight by Mr. Rosencrantz that they have keys.
Mr. Marion.
Mr.
Mr. Marion.
It's Mr. Marion.
Well, it's important.
Wow, this is not getting it's not a good portion
Yeah.
of the meeting.
Mr. Marion, maybe you could respond?
I've got a couple things to respond to, actually. Thank you, Mr. Sarno. In regards to the follow-up items from the last meeting, I do have a confirmation from our OEM director, Tom Garrity, that the ambulance and fire companies do have keys to the access road. There's 2 boxes on those chains. We've talked about those several times. I think that's what piques all of our interest when that comes up, that there's no keys. So I'm not going to argue or dispute with Mr. Sarno,
Maybe they feel that they
but he did
don't have
confirm.
to get out of the ambulance and unlock it. Maybe they feel it's easier to go the other way. I don't know.
They very well may have. They may,
Let Mr. Marion finish his update.
Oh, you could have that in just a second. Just give me
Yeah.
one second. All right. So that's the confirmation from our OEM director, Tom Garrity. In regards to the police department, I know Mr. Sarno had come before the council last meeting to indicate that he saw police department driving around the chain, which is absolutely the case. I know that Lieutenant Mandola did reach out to you to discuss. He said that Mr. Sarno questioned as to why patrol car did not use overhead emergency lights when going around there, and advised Mr. Sarno that not all calls for service, along with driving around the chain, required the need for use of emergency lights. Mr. Sarno understood and did not have any further questions at that time. So I think the question came as to whether or not why the police could do it and that Mr. Sarno can't do it, and that's just it. They are the police. They are responding and
Right.
doing things like that. It's just one of the necessary ways things are going to have to be. In regards to the access, though, with the EMS and the fire, they do have the keys, Mr. Sarno. So whether or not they use them, if it's an emergency situation, they have to go around it. They're not violating any hospital relationship there, but, that's where we're at.
And just one more issue. On Ferry Road, the sign where you go to Route 18, you know where that is, right?
This is the same issue we're talking about, right? Yeah, gotcha. Yep, for the record.
There's a no turn on red. You have to stop, full stop, and then make the right turn. Nobody makes the full stop there. Nobody does. They just keep going. They just drive down there, right? They just keep going. As long as there's no traffic coming, they're out there. And they take off like jets. So I don't know if you can address that.
We
with
could
us
have,
tonight.
we could have administration look at it and alert the police department, and
I'll forward that to my friend Sergeant Calvosa.
Mr. Cavos is right there, Sergeant Cavos is right
Make
there.
the other turn, they're coming out,
All right,
there's gonna be an accident.
we'll have the police department look at that intersection,
All right.
okay?
Mr.
Thank
Cahill,
you.
just one more point. I think at the last meeting, you also did ask the question regarding whether or not the hospital was responding to him or the residents there regarding ongoing dialogue, because this access road, again, where we did put the sidewalks in for pedestrian access, and we remember that that was a real issue. I did reach out to the operations director. He did indicate he'd be reaching out to them, so if he has not yet, I will follow up with him again this week. I don't know,
Nobody's called the office.
Mr.
today.
DeStanzalo hasn't, so that's, I just want to leave that out there, because that's something else we were following up on. And again, they said they would have there's nothing that would preclude them from having a dialogue about potential alternatives, but I know I know Mr. Sarno's going to have a different opinion, and, you know, that's where we're at.
Understood.
Wrong time of opinion. All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Anybody else on the list?
That's it.
Okay, I'll close the preliminary public comments section. Move to council member comments. Anybody have any comments?
I do.
Mr. Rosencrantz.
I'd like to acknowledge a newcomer to Old Bridge TV station, Mary Granahan. I think she's become very efficient at posting on YouTube the council meetings as well as other TV shows in and around the town. So thank you, Mary. It's efficient. You know,
Yay, Mary.
Mary.
I missed one council meeting, and a week later, I saw it up on YouTube already, so that's great. As well as the reorg meeting that's up there that Mr. Rizzoli could watch again. Dr. Anderson was never nominated for an MUA position, so I would recommend, it's up there, you could look at it.
Great. Anybody else, council comments? Dr. Greenberg Belli.
I did. First of all, I want to just mention that on January 25th, I asked a question to the attorneys. On January 25th, I asked a question to the attorneys, and I want to thank them for getting back to me. But however, I got the information via email. I asked it on the 25th, and I got it just a few hours before the council meeting, and unfortunately, you had admonished me, and it was very frustrating because I come from work here, and when I asked about it, you said, oh, we got an email. And so I didn't, open the email, unfortunately, because I came directly from work. So I think the protocol, if I ask a question of professionals, can we please get it back within 5 to 7 business days so I could review it and then make an educated decision or have an educated discussion at the council meeting. But I do appreciate the information, and the information was about the Open Public Meeting Act because I inquired about it, and the information that you gave me made me realize that perhaps we do have a problem, that there was a violation to the Open Public Meeting Act, and I want to know where we should go from here in light of that. And what happened, I went to a course by the League of Municipalities last Saturday that was very informative, and there were attorneys there and people from around the state, and I inquired about the situation, and they said, it is a violation. And so I wanted, your opinion, what should be done. And then also, just to let my fellow council members know, on March 18th, the League of the Municipalities is having a webinar about the Open Public Meeting Act. And maybe it would be good if everyone did, follow that webinar and learn from it, because, really you can't have meetings with the majority of the council, even if it's called a holiday party, whatever. They said it just shouldn't be done, and any time with that, there should always be the chair, just to prevent any problems. Or just, if someone were to view it that way, and they said usually if there's concern, usually, that it is valuable. So I would like some opinion on this, then if I do feel there's a violation, what do we do?
So before Mr. Roselli comments, I didn't admonish you, and I'm sorry you feel that way. What I was doing was correcting the record, because if I recall, and we could watch it on YouTube, you made a statement that you did not receive the information. All I was doing was correcting the record to say that we
Okay.
did indeed receive it in email. So if you took it as an admonishment, I apologize. It was more to correct the record. Mr. Roselli?
Well, thank you.
Just again, couple things I remind, and I remind all council members, and I think discussions I've had, one of the concerns that I always tell elected officials about the Open Public Meetings Act, because there's times when, whether knowingly or a lot of times unknowingly, how a meeting may be able to be conducted. That being said, Councilwoman Greenberg, we'll do our best certainly to get your response at the 5 to 7 business days, and I apologize for that. And then with respect to the issue at hand, one thing you have to remember, I am the township attorney, and I represent everybody up here, as well as elected officials. So in that regard, there are certain discussions that I need to respect as an attorney representing my client, which I don't believe would be appropriate to have in public because of attorney-client privileged information. And certainly because I have ethical obligations because I represent everybody up here. That being said, I think as part of the memorandum that was given, there's a process with respect to if there's a suspected violation that is followed and the law allows, typically it's either the Attorney General's office or the prosecutor who pursues claims of violation of Open Public Meetings Act. So in that regard, if any individual would have believes that there is a violation, then that's the process they would follow, either reaching out to the Attorney General's office and or the prosecutor's office to pursue that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Other council comments?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Also, isn't there a 45-day time frame?
You know, Councilman Green, off the top of my head, I don't recall that in the statute. I mean, statute would say, but I don't recall the statute. But there may, usually there's some types of time frames, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my
I
head.
think we're beating a dead horse here now, you know? I just-
Well,
I'll go to Councilwoman Soho
I
now.
don't think it's a
and then I'll
dead
go to
horse. I think
Councilwoman
it's a
Panos.
problem.
Yes,
On
I
the
just,
floor. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to all my residents who send me cards and calls and good wishes following my accident at work and subsequent surgery. It always feels so nice when people remember you and have good thoughts. I got a beautiful card from the Historical Society. So many people reached out to say, hope you feel well and our prayers are with you. So thank you once again for all the good wishes. I really appreciate it.
Councilwoman Panos?
Yes. I'm the council liaison to the Old Bridge Municipal Alliance for the Prevention of Substance Abuse, and I attended the meeting last week. I think it's time that we share among the community what goes on at these meetings because, you know, drug abuse is a problem in the state. And with the Parkway and Route 9 and 18 going through Old Bridge, we're in a pretty precarious position. So let me just give you a little bit about the Old Bridge Municipal Alliance for the Prevention of Substance Abuse. In addition to working with the township, with the Mayor Henry's Town Forums, the Municipal Alliance also works with the Senior Center that was here. They have an intergenerational program where the high school students get together with the seniors and they talk about life issues, but they also talk about getting rid of your, how to dispose of and monitor your prescription drugs, which is an introduction to a lot of the heroin addiction today. They do this thing called HOFNOD, hooked on fishing, not on drugs. So please look, and you know, I'll keep on reminding you, but look on the website and such. Their event is going to be June 11th or 12th, depending on the rain date, at Cheese Creek Park. In the planning is a drug awareness day at Guy Park. Working with a resident who came to speak about it a couple of weeks ago, and Calvary Church. The Municipal Alliance also had on their agenda Families Against Addiction. If you know any families that have somebody who is addicted in their family, Families Against Addiction meets on Tuesday nights at the library, 7 p.m. And down the road in the works, to get the word out, at the Little League opening days, they're looking maybe to get a billboard somewhere in an obvious spot, Route 9 or something, that will tell a contact number and things to do. Because as a community, we need to fight this together.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have one more issue.
Okay.
Can I speak?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, listen, it was great tonight to see everybody, the seniors and the Camp Robin. All these people are represented by us on this council. I'm sure they don't all get along and, you know, things like that and agree on everything. However, there seems to be a mutual respect for each other of the people of this community. So I'm reaching out to the co-council members on this council to say, we represent these people as elected officials. They elected us. Let's show some respect for each other. There's this is, an example of this is, there's an empty seat and 5 seats down there. You know what? Let's put our best foot forward, come up with a procedure, that there's an evenness on this council. I don't care who sits where, but let's come up with a procedure. So I'm asking the council president to, I'm asking all my fellow council people to come up with an idea or two. I mean, I'm sure we're not the only council in America. I've been looking it up. There's many procedures for procedure of seating on a council. So how about we come up with one, maybe we can get it to the council president, 1 or 2 ideas, and vote on it, all right? Well, the people of this town deserve better than than disrespect, when they respect each other so much.
Yeah, so the process would be that somebody would have a discussion item, and if we discussed it and somebody wanted to move it, then that would be the process.
All I'm gonna do is maybe come to...
No, I'm just saying,
No,
that's the
I don't know.
process, so,
Oh,
no.
it is? I'm sorry, so explain
Yeah,
it to me again.
so at the next meeting, if somebody has ideas, you could ask for a discussion item, we discuss it, and then if we want to move it, we could move it then to start
Okay,
the
does it become a
process.
resolution ordinance?
Well, you
Oh,
have to
that's
go
the
through the
attorney.
process.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So if everybody gives their 2 cents, then we all gave our 2 cents.
okay. Council comments? Council comments? Huh? Okay, I'll close out the council comments. I want to commend the Old Bridge Animal Shelter. We adopted a dog there. His name's Knuckles, short for Knucklehead. We didn't name him, the shelter did. But we had to put one of our dogs down, and we weren't ready to have another dog, and my wife found this dog, and he's terrific. And the people in the shelter were just, the volunteers and the staff were just amazing. They really were. I mean, between the fostering and then the actual adoption, they were just terrific. So, and they've got a lot of dogs there right now, and cats, obviously. So, I would recommend people that are thinking about pet ownership to go down to the Old Bridge Animal Shelter. It's a great experience. Again, they got a lot of animals there that could use adoption, and like I said, my family and I had a terrific experience. So thank you to the Old Bridge Animal Shelter for that. So. They do a home inspection and everything. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll close the council member comments. We have a report of the township clerk. We do.
Small one,
Okay.
just about dog licensing.
Okay.
We're still in the process of renewing our dog licenses for the year 2016. Just a reminder, in order to renew your pet license, their rabies shot must expire October 31st of the licensing year or thereafter. Any shots that expire before the October 31st date must be updated before we can issue you a license. That's a state mandate law. We have no control over that. Also, please note that if you haven't sent in your renewals, please do so before March 1st to avoid a $5 late fee for the license. And that's it.
We have a motion to accept the clerk's report, please.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Pena, second by Councilman Rosencrantz. Any questions about the report? Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
We have a report of the township attorney.
Nothing to report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Let's go to the administrative report. Mr. Marion? Highlight of the evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The administrative report for February 22nd, 2016. Item number 1, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Superstorm Sandy Blue Acres team began extending buyout offers to homeowners in Old Bridge in April of 2015. A total of 29 buyout offers have been extended to date. 23 out of the 29 offers have been accepted. That number has not changed from last month's report. Of those 23 homeowners who have accepted offers, 18 fully executed contracts and 9 closings. So the process continues to move forward. We did get an update from the NJDEP regarding, I think I mentioned before, when we hit 12 properties, we would then start to talk about demolition and the next steps of the process of the property down there. So I'll keep council apprised as we go, and if anybody has any questions, they can certainly ask. Item number 2, the 2016 municipal budget is scheduled for introduction tonight. The total general appropriation for 2016, including municipal library purposes, is $54,002,150 compared to $53,018,268.18 in 2015. The proposed tax rate for both municipal and municipal library purposes for 2016 is estimated to be 1.0320, which reflects a tax increase of 0.170 cents over 2015. For an average home in Old Bridge assessed at $152,500, the proposed municipal and municipal library tax increase would be $26, and that would be increasing from $1,548 in 2015 to $1,574 in 2016. Township Council has tentatively scheduled council budget subcommittee meetings for February 29th, March 10th, and March 14th to review the proposed budget in more detail, and then a formal presentation and public hearing on the municipal budget will be scheduled for the March 21st council meeting. Again, those meetings, those budget subcommittee meetings are open to the public and everybody, so if you're in the mood for looking at your budget, please come on down.
So those would not be meetings that'd be a problem at.
I'm sorry?
All council people are invited to the
All
meetings,
council-
so,
Be noticed.
And they're noticed, correct.
thank you.
Item number 3, the proposed cap bank ordinance is also scheduled for introduction tonight. The ordinance authorizes the township to bank the difference between the final budget appropriation subject to cap and the cost of living adjustment when the difference is not appropriated as part of the final budget. It is important to note that the proposed budget scheduled for introduction this evening is $780,632.92 below the state mandated cap base, which is $42,979,059.92. The purpose of this ordinance is to allow the township to carry the cap balance for up to 2 years in accordance with state statute, providing some level of flexibility for the township should local or state economic conditions change. A public hearing on this ordinance is also going to be scheduled for the March 21st council meeting, of which we will look to adopt it. Item number 4, the proposed 2016 capital bond ordinance for general improvements in the total amount of $3,994,500 is scheduled for introduction also tonight. This bond ordinance includes funding for important municipal capital projects, including curbing, drainage, facilities, road improvements, and replacement equipment and vehicles for various departments and divisions. And again, we've really tried to strive, as everybody on the council knows, for the last couple of years to get this done early, presented, so we can get to these projects in a timely manner each year. Number 5, just to report out to the council, since January 1st, 2016, the township has spent approximately $594,627.57 on ice and snow removal related operations, which includes bulk salt, employee overtime, outside contractors, and repairs to equipment. I hope that's my last report to council, but we have to see what happens in March. Item number 6, the contractor for our energy savings improvement library roof replacement roof management has finished installation of the roofing membrane. Final detail work will be completed as soon as possible, depending on weather conditions, which is primarily temperature. The roofing manufacturer Tremco has also performed multiple inspections to ensure compliance with installation instructions. Hard copies of the February 17th project status report from Tozier DCO has been forwarded to the Township Clerk's Office for distribution to council. One issue that did pop up in the last couple of days was there's 2 small sections of the roofs that were not included for membrane replacement. So we've been in contact with Tozier regarding them. We also had some issues with regards to the last storm last week where the rain was moving sideways, again, causing leaks. We're currently getting quotes now to see from Public Works if we can caulk those windows and better secure that so we can get rid of those leaks. So slowly but surely, the project is coming to completion. I do believe 2 meetings ago I submitted hard copies of the warranty from Tremco to council. Mr. Butler had requested, so hopefully you have that. If you have any questions regarding the warranties or whatever, and you're more than welcome to ask about that too. Item number 7, the public safety radio communication system. Tate Communications has changed the dispatch console interface vendor as per police department request. An updated project management plan reflecting our new console will be submitted to the township by February 26th. It is anticipated that all system components will be ordered on or about March 22nd, and also hard copies of our February 19th project status report from Intertech Associates, the consultant, have been forwarded to the clerk's office for distribution to council. So I know there was a concern before. Those reports are going to be given to us on a monthly basis to track progress, and if you have any questions, you can certainly ask. Item number 8, under the New Jersey Government Energy Aggregation Program, the initial opt-out period for the Old Bridge Community Energy Aggregation Program has ended. Those residents who received the program notification last month and did not opt out of the program will be enrolled by the program supplier, South Jersey Energy, for service beginning with the March 2016 meter read date. We had an issue this last 2 weeks where the number posted up on that update was wrong. So we got a lot of calls to the mayor's office as well as to Gable Associates. That number's been corrected. And people who had said that they received a notification from JCP&L were just starting to take a look at this program now. So they are enrolled if they had not opted out now for the March billing date. If they have a problem, they can opt out at any time afterwards, and we'll send those calls to our office, and unfortunately, we're going to have to steer them to Gable Associates, but the correct numbers, all the information about the program is up on our website. Item number 9 is a reminder, the 2016 Spring Recreation Program brochure is available and includes another exciting lineup of classes, programs, and events for residents of all ages. For additional information, residents can contact our Department of Parks and Recreation or visit the Township website, where you can also sign up on the E-Track program. Item 10 is a reminder, the League of Municipalities' Future Municipal Leaders Scholarship Competition, which is open to all high school juniors and seniors who are residents of New Jersey and plan to continue their education after high school. There's a deadline for submission of essays to the mayor's office, and that's March 10th. And for additional information, you can contact the mayor's office or visit our township website, where the information is also up on the website. Item 11, on March 12th, the Township of Old Bridge, in conjunction with the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, will be hosting the Middlesex County Residential Paper Shred Program from 9 a.m. to 12 noon at the Township Department of Public Works facility, which is located right here in our municipal complex. This mobile paper shredding service is for residents only, and proof of residency will be required to participate. For additional information about the shred program, residents can contact the Middlesex County Solid Waste Management at 732-745-4170, or visit our county website, countymiddlesex@NJUS, or contact Public Works, and they can provide information. And finally, as a reminder to everybody, CERT, our Community Emergency Response Team, is comprised of trained volunteers who provide critical support to our first responders during emergency situations, and also provide assistance with non-emergency activities and projects throughout the year. The next CERT class is scheduled to begin on April 4th, and will meet every Monday through June 6th. For additional information, residents should contact Old Bridge Police Department, Lieutenant Greenway, 732-721-5600, extension 3610. And that information is also posted up on the website. And just briefly, bear with me for just a second.
That's his administrative report, all those pages.
I believe that the CR 516 project is scheduled, was initially scheduled to start February 19th. The start date is now February 26th.
26, it says, but that's a Friday, that's odd.
It'll be a short day for the folks that are starting that project, but if the information will be updated and refreshed up on the website.
Okay.
That is it.
Any questions for the administrator on his report?
I have one, Mr.
Mr. Mollis.
Councilman. Mr. Marion, on the properties that are being taken down with the Blue Acres project,
Okay.
you said like a dozen of them are slated to come
They're
down?
all slated for, any of the buyout properties are all slated for demolition, but the problem is they have to go in groups of 12. They can't just do them as they go, so we
Right.
have to have a first bunch of 12.
And there's 7 people that I know of that are remaining there. They've rebuilt,
Mm-hmm.
or one had his original house, he stayed. Who's going to maintain these properties when the grass grows up to the windows of their houses and stuff? I mean,
Unfortunately, the township is responsible for maintenance until those properties are then leveled, but the maintenance agreement the council passed maybe last year. The township is responsible for maintenance of that area going forward.
yeah, it's going to be open fields now, and it's just going to be.
It's like a
grass.
natural lay passive type of yeah.
I mean, is there any way the town would be able to shift this property over to the county, become part of the county park down there?
I don't believe the way the agreement is structured that was what was envisioned. Usually the local community is responsible for that, but it doesn't, nothing precludes us from.
As part of Blue Acres program, they require the local unit to be responsible for maintenance of the properties.
Okay.
But nothing precludes us from sitting
Can
down
ask
with the county.
All right, thank you.
Exactly.
Any other comments from Mr. Marion on his report? I have a motion to accept the report, please.
Make a motion.
Mr. Mollis made the motion,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes,
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker? President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you, Mr. Marion.
Yeah, sure. I am not, I can do so in closed session. I have to schedule that, but I will not give an update at this time.
okay.
I'm sorry, what was the issue?
We had an issue last year regarding the Spooktacular event and
Okay.
we're charging there, and there was some questions and follow-up from the council.
Okay.
But I'm not going to talk about that this evening.
Yeah, okay. Would that be a closed,
Well,
something
there's
we'd
a
have to do in
yeah,
executive
you have,
session?
there's because it's personnel matters, so
Okay.
Obviously, to the extent they're
Can
personnel
we
matters. can be
schedule that for the next council meeting then, to talk about?
Most definitely.
Great, thank you. Okay, I wasn't aware, so. Thank you, Mr. Marion, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So consent agenda, there's items C1 through C4. I just want to, C1, I just want to, if the council could make some just comments. So this is amending resolution number 443-15 and authorizing release of the performance guarantee. Correct, Mr. Attorney? So that's the only addition, that's the only correction on C1. So can I have a motion to move C1 through C4, and then we'll do separations if there are any?
I'll make a motion.
Rosencrantz made a motion. Have a
Second.
Second by Mrs. Panos. I'll open it up to the public. Anybody from the public want to be heard on C1 through C4? I'll close the public portion. Do we have any council separations?
Yes, Councilman.
Yes.
C4, please.
C4 for Mrs. Sohar. Any other separations? Okay. Can I have a motion on the balance, please? C1, C2, C3.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz, second by Mrs. Sohar. Right here? Yes. Roll call, please. C1 through C3.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Mrs. Sohar, C4.
Yes, I would be remiss if I didn't thank our engineer, Nicole Shapiro, and Jim Winkowski from CME, the engineer who was overseeing this whole bond release issue. It became quite contentious at one point, and I just want to thank the two of you for really reaching out to that development and making sure that, you know, everything was in order and that they had the reassurance that they needed. Thank you very much for all the time you spent doing that.
Any other comments on C4? It's been a long saga for those folks, so we're glad that there was a settlement reached, and they can start to move on from that process. So that's great. Can I get a motion, please, on C4?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Green. Have a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Panos. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Ordinances for first reading, FR1, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank pursuant to NJSA 4-45.14 for the calendar year 2016. Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
And a second.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Panos, second by Mr. Green. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9
FR2, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements appropriating $3,994,500 and the authorizing the issuance of $3,794,600 in bonds or notes of the Township of Old Bridge to finance part of the cost thereof. I have a motion, please. Motion by Mrs. Sohar. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, budget introduction. Mr. Marion and Mr. Shah.
I will turn it over to my friend Mr. Shah for the honors.
It's good cooperation, call him your friend.
I'm trying to be a little
It is
collegial toward the
budget
end of the
season,
meeting.
so-
It is budget season.
Thank you. Mr. Marion already briefed the information in his report. I'm going to read the basics summary of the budget that require to be read by the titles. The appropriation within caps, municipal purpose, $42,198,427. Appropriation excluded from caps, municipal purpose, $10,243,723. Reserve for uncollected taxes, $1,850,000. Total general appropriations, $54,292,150. Less anticipated revenue other than current property tax, $18,829,558. difference amount to be raised by taxes for support of municipal budget, local taxes for municipal purpose, including reserve for uncollected taxes, $33,028,860. Minimum library tax, $2,433,732.
Okay. Mr. Marion, I think you have to read something as well, or?
No, you have to adopt the resolution.
Oh.
That's before you to authorize Mancha to do what he just did.
Oh.
So we have to, so, do you want to read the resolution and we have to adopt it? Is
No,
that
you
what
just,
the-
yeah.
You're ahead of your time, Hamachu, always were.
Resolution that's in your packet to authorize the budget to be read by title. So if you could introduce and ask for motion for that.
Okay. Have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Stover? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
So, we're good? Okay, thank you. So officially introduced, and then we have the budget meetings. Everybody should have a blue piece of paper with the budget meetings that Mr. Marion talked about.
First meeting is February 29th.
First meeting is February 29th.
But
Go ahead.
Yes, we need a motion and second and a vote on the introduction of the
On the introduction, gotcha, okay. I have a motion, please, on the introduction.
I'll make,
Moved by Mr. Green,
second.
second by Mr. Rosencrantz, thank you. What a team over here, I'll tell you. Roll call, please.
good thing I came.
Mr. Butler?
Yeah.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Are we sure we're good with the resolutions now?
Mancha, I want to make sure.
It's been thoroughly introduced, Mr.
Thoroughly, it's been thoroughly resolved?
Resolved.
Okay, all right,
I'm trying to make it look good, so you know what we do.
okay.
Oh.
All right, so moving on to discussion ordinance, DO1, ordinance amending Chapter 10, Traffic, Section 10-19.76 of the Code of Township of Old Bridge, handicap parking sign, add 261 Outlook Boulevard, Cliffwood Beach, New Jersey, 07735.
Mr. President, if I may,
Mr. Mollis.
this is a person in Ward 1, Cliffwood Beach section, as it states. He has a wife with rheumatoid arthritis, and she has handicap plates on her car and so forth. She's already done all the application to the town. I think it's really necessary because they have no off-street parking with their properties. Properties down there are very narrow. Their lot is 25 feet wide. So what happens when everybody gets home from work, she has nowhere to park, and sometimes she can't negotiate coming down the street. It's just very difficult for her.
Mr. Roselli, is that allowable in that
Yeah,
section?
we did, right, we did the
the
inspection was done by the police department and recommendation, so the ordinance, I don't see a reason why you could not move it at this time for introduction.
Okay.
I have a
Any other
question.
questions, Mrs. Pownds?
Yes.
Yep.
Say that house is sold and that resident moves, what happens
Well,
then?
right, so there has to be a reason for the handicap parking. So if a new resident comes and doesn't have handicap parking, then then that handicap parking space would have to be removed because the person's making the application. My sense would be the next person who comes in, you know, to the extent that they would want that, they'd have to file a similar application as well.
And what if they
to
don't want
maintain
it?
it.
What if they don't, what if they wanted to park in front of the house and not get a ticket because they're not handicapped?
Well, and if they don't qualify, then we would just rescind this ordinance and we'd remove the handicap parking.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this particular item?
Yeah, just a follow-up. If the house is sold, how does the police department know the house is sold? Because if the people moving in, they might want to park in front of their house. How would we know?
Well, we wouldn't until they bring it to our attention, it's like anything else. So I think there's two things. Let's say they park in the handicap zone and they don't have a sticker, then they'll get ticketed.
Okay.
Because no one's going to know who it is. And I think secondly, if someone does buy it, they're going to see that. And I'm sure they'll reach out, the realtors usually reach out to see if we can remove it. Because
Okay.
parking's such an issue down there.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or discussion item? Does the council want to make a motion, move it to first reading?
I'll make a motion, sir.
I'll second that.
A motion from Mr. Mollis, a second from Mrs. Panos. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green? Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker? President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
DO2, amending Chapter 160 fees, Section 160-18, if you could just scratch out leaf bags. It's recycling containers of the code of the Township of Old Bridge. Discussion item, Mr. Marion?
Thank you, council. The ordinance before you this evening, the rates were changed by the Middlesex County Improvement Authority for the 20-gallon and the 14-gallon recycling bins. So tonight's ordinance adjustment reflects those changes to the cost. Also strikes the leaf bag provision because we no longer provide leaf bags.
One of the other things I added too was that to the extent that the Improvement Authority were to increase the cost of the containers in the future, then that increase could be done by resolution rather than amending the ordinance. It's just a lot of more efficient process by which to do that rather than have an ordinance amendment.
Okay, good. Any questions on the ordinance? Okay, can we make a motion and move this to first reading as well? Moved by Mr. Green,
Second.
second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green? Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker? President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Public comments on any subject matter? We recognize? State your name and address for the record, please.
Bob Thompson, Cliffwood Beach, New Jersey. And this is John Murphy.
John Murphy, Old Bridge, New Jersey.
We've been meeting with a lot of like the people in throughout the state actually that were involved in wrestling in Old Bridge at one time or another. And seeing John here and we got together and sort of thought that it would be nice to sort of have the town honor Greg DeMarco. He has passed away fairly recently. And he became he's in the National Hall of Fame for wrestling, and he's from Old Bridge Township. He held the big rec tournament in Old Bridge for several years, working tirelessly with Barbara Felice in that. And we were just thinking it would be kind of nice to honor him in some way with like a plaque on one of the buildings or something, because all the work he did, he was a teacher in town, but he did a lot of volunteer work above and beyond what was in his thing. So we were just thinking of that.
He basically brought wrestling into the town. It was started in the high school, and then he got together with me and 2 other people from the team in 1973, and we started the mat wrap program, and it just exploded from there. And basically, about the time he started, the field house was built down here on whatever it is, I forget what it's called. The road here.
516, Cottrell?
Cottrell?
No, this road.
516.
The road that goes between 516 and
Ticetown Road.
Ticetown, okay.
Yeah, well, the field house right there.
Okay, yeah.
We thought that would be a good place to hang a plaque in dedication, because that was his, right, basically. There were 3 rooms for wrestling, and then they had a weightlifting room. Now, I guess we're looking for direction. Do we come here, or do we go to the Board of Ed?
Well, the field house is Board of Ed property.
Right.
So if you were gonna do it on the field house, that would have to go to the Board of Ed. I mean, if the township wanted to do something here in the township area, then we could talk to the administration and Mr. Babcock as well, and we could do something here. It's really where you guys think it's more
Right,
appropriate.
I don't think the field hasn't been dedicated. I don't think there's any plaque on that or anything.
then that's a
That was
nice-
basically
that's
when
a
he
nice
started.
Okay.
So I think that would be nice, so we'll take it over there.
That's your call.
It's
Yeah.
just we'd hope that we would have the council's support going forward and maybe go up jointly with the Board of Education. or
Absolutely.
whatever.
If you want me to reach out to somebody over in the Board of Ed and let them know you're coming, I can absolutely do that, for sure.
Because he's not like the, like I say, there were coaches in town who had more wins. There were coaches that, on the course of doing their job they were paid for, may have exceeded what he'd done. But nationally, as far as being in the Hall of Fame and everything else, not too many have done that. And all of this time that he put in was volunteer time to Old Bridge Township.
One of you guys do me a favor and just shoot me an email, bkhill@oldbridge.com, just so I have the facts about the gentleman, and I'll make sure I talk to the Board of Ed, and maybe at the next Board of Ed meeting, you guys can go, and they'll have a flavor of what you're talking about. How's that sound?
That was very nice
Bob.
of you. That was very nice of you guys. I thought you were going to come up and ask for an over 40 wrestling league. I was like, oh,
Bob,
when you
Bob.
started that conversation.
One quick question, was he still down in Florida, him and his wife Eileen, or?
He was in Florida, and his daughter sent me an email that he had died. And after he had died, he didn't get to see that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame because he
Yeah.
he actually invented like wrestling systems that were
Yeah.
used throughout the
No, I
country
knew
and
him,
everything
yeah.
else. He was a
Mhm.
really talented man.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.
Any other comments from the public? I'll close the public portion. Now we have a discussion item, D1, construction official update. Mr. Reardon, I believe? So welcome, Mr. Reardon. Good evening. Good evening.
Let me kick off. Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Just very briefly, let me kick off. I know when the mayor took office 4 years ago, one of the areas of concern was regarding code enforcement and construction. A lot of issues, if you recall, maybe maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, we come before council to talk about some of the processes, some of the improvements. We had gotten a DCA audit with staffing. There are a lot of concerns. We saw overtime, and we authorized some things to move some projects ahead. What I'd like to do tonight is introduce to the folks who don't know Mr. Reardon, our construction official. He was permanently appointed to the position on September 1st, and since that time, he has made a number of improvements, including basically reorganization of the department, improvements in technology, and also in communication, internally, externally, and public outreach and some plans. So what I wanted to get used to, I think we talked about it when Dr. Greenberg took in office, and we were doing the orientation, some of the strides that have been made over the last year, and certainly since September of last year. I think that, so I'll turn it over to Pat to talk about some of the improvements. As we go through this year, we'll see reports from some of our department heads during discussion items to make sure council can hear from everybody, because we really have a talented and very accomplished group of folks. But tonight, we're going to kick it off with Mr. Reardon.
Great, thank you.
I'll try and keep it short. You all should have the handout, yes?
Yes.
All right, so I'll just hit some talking points. Some of the major changes were changes in the mechanical inspections. There were some regulation changes that enabled that for us. Furnaces, water heaters, those sort of things, we can send 2 guys instead of 3, reduces the fee, reduces the number of people they have to wait for. I've enacted that. We purchased 4 new digital phones. As part of our phone problem, as you all know, we had a phone answering issue problem. Part of that was that we didn't have digital phones. We had headsets that didn't work with the analog phones, and that was part of the problem. We had called in the phone company to solve that for us. I've added the intercom feature, which we've never had before. Found out we have actually that capability. I only have that in about 65% of the phones currently. I hope to buy some more phones in the coming year. Again, I've opened a direct and open line of communication with contractors and builders. They contact me directly, or they contact me through Mr. Mamakis, and we try and help as much as possible. I held and continue to hold regular staff meetings. I visit the job sites. I've started the community outreach program, as Mr. Marion stated. Back on January 26th, we went to Voorhees School and met with fourth grade students, talented and gifted. And I had to make sure I was talking about the right age group. They have a project that we helped them with. We spent an hour or two, got a lot out of it. They got a lot out of it. Very gifted, smart children. Today, this morning, I met with the apartment managers to teach and assist them in getting better at using the online system, which should help our whole process also. In the future, I hope to work with the realtors and contractors as well, with that. So we're adding the zoning applications to the Gov Online system. In the coming months, we have a test system we're working on right now. We hope to complete that before March. We're also working on creating an abandoned property maintenance ordinance to give us some teeth that we can do some stuff with these abandoned properties in town. And I continue to work with my department head, Nicole, and Chris, and the mayor, in trying to eliminate any processes that are unnecessary to expedite things. So I'll let you read the rest of that yourself if you have any questions. I don't want to keep you here all night.
Do you have a 2016?
I also have a 2016 proposed. A lot of that's already been started,
Okay.
which I've noted in progress, or we're working on them. That's in bold.
As part of the budget development process each year, we ask each department head to submit accomplishments from the prior year, not just operational things like we got to work and we went out and did something, but also for goals for the upcoming year. And that helps us develop our budget message, and as well as those subcommittee meetings. As you know, the range of topics doesn't go just to sub-accounts,
Right.
although I would prefer that. I like sub-accounts. But I think that the goals and objectives we set for Pat made it very clear to us, we need to get beyond the troubleshooting piece when there's a problem and really try to see how we can improve the processes overall. That includes getting input from the staff, reorganizing the staff, cross-training the staff, making sure they have the technology that they need to conduct the job in the most efficient manner. We're not there yet, and we do know that, but we are trying to work toward it. I think also with the addition of Mr. Mamakis in the Office of Economic Development, we've had a real advocate for businesses that would have specific issues. 50% of the time people come in and tell you that it's the building department this happened. A lot of times they've done stuff without permits in the process that already started and kind of gone awry before we were able to intervene and try to assist. So I think working very closely with Pat, with Nicole Shapiro, the township engineer, our new zoning officer, Damian Gill. We really have a good team now, and I think with all the folks in the building department, from the technical assistants to the inspectors to the construction and subcodes, I think that they've really started to take a hard look at operations and try to make those changes that will allow them to provide better services to the public. Again, if people have issues or problems, I know they can contact not only the administrator, which a lot of things land on my desk, but also Mr. Reardon as the construction official, because I think he's done a great job since September, really setting the goals, executing the goals, and kind of getting into the mix with the other departments as to how we can make things better. And I'm very pleased to see it. It's a noted decrease in complaints that come to the town administrator, to the mayor, although the mayor gets the brunt of a lot of complaints. And I think that's how we're looking to tonight. So,
Broad shoulders.
Mr. Mayor, you want to?
Yeah, I'd just like the council to realize, when you think of code and you think the word enforcement, it sounds bad. But when you look at the size of Old Bridge and the volume that this department does, it's probably the most interaction with the public than any other department, including public safety, town-wide. So you really, 7,000 permits, 8,000 permits, and a minimum of 3 inspections per permit. So you're looking at 20,000 interactions with the public. You're going to get complaints because, as we all know, we're putting people through this process because it's in their best interest to go through this process, to get a permit, have the work done correctly. This department is the homeowner's best insurance policy, the commercial owner. They are their best insurance policy to make sure the work is done correctly. So, and anytime people are forced to be put through a process, we know there's going to be complaints. And we deal with the complaints as we get them. And as Chris said, a majority of the complaints were brought upon themselves because they started the job without permits. They don't want to go through the process. They don't manage their job sites well. And I just want the council to realize the size of Old Bridge, the task at hand, and we're doing everything in our power to meet this task, in a responsible way. The easy thing to do would be go hire more and more inspectors. When the volume of work dropped down, then we'd have the problem in town, which we had a couple of years ago, where we had to let people go. We don't want to do that. We want to try to manage this code enforcement department with the right amount of people to get the job done in the best interest of the residents of Old Bridge. The contractors, we want them to come to Old Bridge and work. There's a great opportunity for small contractors to come to Old Bridge and do work. Some are very successful and make a lot of money off the residents of Old Bridge. And they are aware of the process. They go through it, they get it done, they get their inspections, and they get their COs. There's a handful of contractors that refuse to go through the process, and they battle with the code enforcement every job they do. So it's the nature of the beast, but it's something we have to do in town to guarantee the safety for our residents, the residents that are moving out. We're more concerned with the resident moving into town, that their home that they're getting meets the code, is up to code, that work done prior to these people moving in was done right. So it's a tough job that this department has to, sometimes I call it cleaning up other people's messes. Other contractors and homeowners who did the work themselves, thinking it's not done up to code. Code changes on a yearly basis sometimes. Mm-hmm. So it's in the best interest of everyone that the code be allowed to do its job and that they do it and in the best that they possibly can. And we're here to support, and we've said it many times, these departments. We need to give them the tools they need to succeed. We need to support them, and then we can hold them accountable. And And we will hold code enforcement accountable once everything is in place. And we set the bar pretty high here in Old Bridge. I'm going through a horrible process in another town. I'm not going to mention the name of the town, but I've been waiting for a permit for 6 weeks now for something very simple. And I'm a contractor who applies for everything and did everything right, and just, call between 9 and 8 on a Tuesday, on every other week, otherwise I wouldn't even answer the phone. That kind of process to go through to a town.
Maybe they have our
So-
phone system.
Yeah, they have our phone system. No, but Pat has brought, I think, the department to another level. We're not where we want to be yet, but I think we're going to get there eventually. So, council, I just want you to
Yeah, Mr.
understand what we're
Marion
up
had
against.
one more comment, I'll go to council, so.
I just wanted to say also, I think that the big piece to this is the public outreach piece. And I can't say enough about the Middlesex Association of Realtors. We have almost quarterly meetings with them and get a lot of feedback immediately because people waiting for different things for their, for a certificate of occupancy when they turn over homes and things. So, we really, it's a process. We're trying to be open-minded and trying to work with things. I think I mentioned to Council President Cahill today, I've actually seen real-time changes to the website. I think we had the one meeting where we were able to adjust it because it was irking the folks there. The apartment managers were in today. You had about 12 total. To sit down and understand what the benefits of the Gov Online system are. So, Pat, as the mayor indicated, the bar is set high, our expectations are high, but I really believe that Pat and the folks in that code enforcement are really up to the challenge, and we're starting to move that way. So we'll
Great.
entertain questions from
Yep,
council.
open up to council. Would like to speak? Dr. Greenberg-Raleigh.
First of all, Mr. Reardon, it is noticed throughout the town since you've been there that there definitely is an improvement, that you've been very responsive and involved, go to the states, and it's definitely a starting point. The communication and educating the public is the most important thing, because a lot of times they don't realize how much is going on at the time. But I would say sometimes to identify a problem, to solve a problem, you have to identify the problem. And I don't know whether it's possible because, people who take out a permit, once their job's done, it would be good to get feedback from them to see how everything worked, from the time they, filed for the permit to the time from the inspections. So I don't know whether, it's worthwhile to do a survey or just to ask them, like, a simple form that you can give them for their comments. Because you'd be surprised that, people could have some, very positive things that will help. I don't know whether that's possible. I mean, it's one of the common things that we hear all over town, from the code, and I certainly wanted to change, even from people that are in construction with developments, stores, or whatever they're building. Sometimes it had a very negative, opinion of the town, and, a lot of times there's reasons for that, but we want to welcome people here to do business. And so being able to find out what their needs are will be more responsive to them. But I really think that you have, made a difference in, since September. It's noticed by residents. We hear everything. And I commend you, and I applaud you for doing such a good job
Thank you,
in a short time.
Council comments, Mrs. Sohar.
There has been a change, and it's for the positive. This ordinance that we want to create, the abandoned property ordinance, to me, is one of the major things to work on. As a ward council person especially, you get a lot of people calling. I already had 3 calls last week about 3 different properties I'll be emailing you about, But I think that this is the way to go about making the change in a positive way. We have to address what's wrong and move forward, and I think you really are trying to do that. Thank you.
Council President,
Yes, please.
just very quickly, the abandoned properties ordinance, Mr. Reardon, Ms. Shapiro, and Mr. Gill, we've gotten sample ordinances from other communities. I know that Richard from the Homeowners Association had provided some updated things, as well as the Homeowners Association had sample ordinances. So we're hoping in March to come to the council with some ideas for a draft discussion where we'll have Nicole and Damien up here with us as well.
Yes, Mrs. Walker.
Yeah, Mr. Reardon, I want to thank you. Since you've taken over, I do notice a change. As a council, we get a lot of complaints from people. We don't hear any of the good. We just hear all the negative about the code. And I know we met with you, Dr. Greenberg and I, for the newly elected officials, and you had told us about a lot of ideas you had moving forward, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I know we have a long way to go, but we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Just a couple things. So Dr. Greenberg talked about a survey. There is a tool called Survey Monkey. Have you ever heard of it? It's a really easy tool to use. Mr. Mamakis knows about it. It's cheap. It's easy. If we wanted to do that, it really wouldn't set the... I know you could do it with your eyes closed. I think there's a couple things you undersold yourself on in this update. You've done a tremendous job with Gov Online. Okay, you've mechanized the heck out of this. Okay, so the mechanization piece is unbelievable based on where we were a couple of years ago. So I think you undersold yourself on that update, but you've done a terrific job, Pat. You really have. Another thing I want to point out is, again, the group staff meetings and setting your expectations, right? Setting your goals and your objectives. We all acknowledge that there was a problem, right? There was a problem with code, okay? So I liken it to like trying to steer a cruise ship. You're not going to turn it on a dime, right? So there's a process out there. There's legacy expectations about the code department, right, that we have to overcome. But I think the council is kind of talked about the fact that we're starting to make that turn right now. We're starting to see a better response from the public. So I commend you for what you're doing. There's people out there that have a bad taste in their mouth, and we'll have to work through that, right? But I think all the things you've done from a mechanization perspective, holding these staff meetings, talking with the community, I think that goes a long way to turn this ship around. So I commend you for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments from Mr. Reardon? Great update. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Good job. Council member comments. Anybody want it? Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Just one thing that the rec department's having a Devils hockey trip. It's April 7th, and the Devils are versing Tampa, and it may be a fun thing to go to. I saw it on the website, and includes transportation, the ticket, and also $10 towards a food voucher also. So if anyone's interested in going, please sign up. Thank you.
Any other council member comments? Motion to adjourn? Moved by Mr. Green, seconded by Mrs. Panos. Roll call, please.
Mr. Butler? Yes. Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis? Yes. Mrs. Panos? Yes. Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.